Children of all ages, Extreme Improv Extreme presents to you the Slam Jam Wrestling Show. On the show tonight, there is me, David Postansky, and I am joined by dangerous Dave Green. Say hello to the people.
Hello there. Yeah, I am dangerous, and the reason I am dangerous, as I'm going to demonstrate right now, is I'm going to have a beer during this one, and I'm going to pour it into here, which of course is, just so you know, is real glass.
Unbelievable. There's going to be a river of tears. I am going to cry you a river. I wasn't sure what you were doing there, Dave. Like, for a moment, I thought it was like a bizarre magic trick. Because like the background was a little bit blurry at the time. I was like, yeah, it's just like some sort of magic. But speaking of glass and everything, wow. CM Punk, best in the world. You know, at this stage, I may have to admit this might not be a work.
The best at getting into trouble backstage in the world.
Yeah, it's like I don't understand it. Like, what's your hot take on this situation? Are you Team Punk or are you Team Jungle Boy Jack Perry?
I'm on the third team. I'm Team screw both of them because they're both a pair of bell ends.
Well, no, I agree.
It's just this ridiculousness of it just seems that Punk can't help himself in getting all the news being talking about him rather than the fact that we just witnessed the biggest drawing wrestling show, the most well-attended wrestling show in the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But no, we're talking about CM Punk.
Or they have 1 week until they're in Chicago. You know, is this just like, and it's a year anniversary, is this just the stroke of genius that they need? Why with Jungle Boy, though?
That's that press conference.
Yeah. But you know what, like, the weird thing is like, Jungle Boy, it's like, of all the people, unless they're going to announce on Dynamite that Jungle Boy's taking on Punk at the pay-per-view.
What do you think it's going to be like, so Boy's going to go back to being Jungle Boy, you're saying? So it's going to be Jungle Boy versus CP Monk.
Well... Yeah, but this is the weird thing with the pay-per-view. We'll get to All In, baby, and all of this in a moment. But it is the weird thing that this feels like, what was it, like a Tuesday in Texas or something like this, where there was a pay-per-view like 5 days after a pay-per-view or something, or like 3 days after a pay-per-view, where they've...
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, where they've just got like no time at all. And so if they want to have like a hyped-up match that people are talking about, because did All In actually set up any future matches at All Out? I don't think it did.
I did one.
Which was?
And Takeshita.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are right. But they've got so much work to do this week. But let's get to next week in the due course of time, because you were at All In, I was All In. What was your take on the show?
Alright, so before we talk about the show, I'm going to talk very quickly about my getting into the show. So, this whole thing about be there for 5 o'clock, for the first match will start there on 5 o'clock for the pre-show and everything like that. So, we're outside, my friend Nicole and I are outside, and we're just had something to eat, just about to go in and get to the first level of security before the big steps up to Wembley. And guy in the coats, high vis comes up and says, "Very sorry, sir, but your bag's a bit too big." So I've got like a grey rucksack. It's not like the most amazing rucksack in the world or anything like that. Just want to say that now before getting into the story. It's got in it an umbrella that my fiance insisted I put in there, just in case it did rain. It's got like an empty water bottle and an extra t-shirt and my hoodie. That's basically all I've got in there. I made like a power bank as well, a little power bank that can help up to. And a couple of other bits, but anyway, nothing massively important. So I just said, "Really, is it really that bad?" And he said, "No, it has to be size of an A4 sheet, A4 size paper." And you're nodding your head, David. You obviously knew this before.
I did know this.
I didn't see any of this. I didn't even think to check, but so it's my fault. So I've since found out this is Wembley procedure generally. What I didn't know was that their bag holding section is right around the corner by the Ibis Hotel.
Yeah.
Right now. So absolutely like about 15-minute walk away from the entrance I was at. And then we get there after a long queue with a few other people who are a bit disgruntled, like not realising what has happened. Because I'm not a regular Wembley attender, so I don't know. And get around the corner, and there's a £10 charge. I thought, I've got an umbrella, a water bottle, and a t-shirt. I'm not paying £10 for that. So I took the t-shirt out, put it on over what I was wearing, put my hoodie on, grabbed my water bottle, grabbed my umbrella. Again, was my fiance's that I was told not to lose, or told myself not to lose, because I had a habit of losing umbrellas. And Nicole grabbed the little power bank thing for her stuff. I put the wires in my pocket, things like that, and I just found the nearest bin, put my bag in the bin, and went to Wembley with all the
So
stuff
you were okay to go in with the umbrella, though?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah,
wow, how about that? Yeah, I had seen AEW All In was interesting. Like a week before the show, they sent out the email, which was that the show is now starting an hour early.
Yeah.
And you can come in at 3:30. And I was like, whew, thank God I saw that. And there was like one or two other emails, one of which, like, I downloaded the ticket. 10 minutes later, there was a thing saying, there's been a change, you need to download the ticket again. I was like, oh, I've literally just done this. And within this email, it said about, like, what you're allowed to bring in, check, and then, like, from there was another link and stuff like this. And it said an A4 bag. I was like, who has a bag that is, like, A4 or smaller?
I obviously missed that.
So my plan was, I had a hoodie, I had a coat, my coat was my bag, because I'm allowed to wear a coat. Everything I need will be on my person.
Oh yeah, all out 2024. I'm just putting everything in a Sainsbury's carrier bag.
Yeah, there, yeah. Oh, they might say that's too big, but then like when I got there, they were like scan. They were like, oh, do you have any metal? I was like, oh yeah. Like I've got my phone. Like scan. It's like, what's that? I was like, oh, I've got a power bank. They're like scan. I was like, oh, well, I have a second phone in case this one dies from taking photos. They're like scan. I was like, well, I guess there's my car key. They're like, scan. I was like, I don't have any more metal. They're like, do you have metal pocket, like zips on the pocket? I was like, I do. And then they didn't even, like, say turn out your pockets or anything. So I literally could have gone in there with, like, a pocket nuclear bomb. And, like, they didn't even check. But, like, I got in there, and then, obviously, we had a couple of messages along the way. Suddenly, like, the crowd was standing up, and we'll talk about, like, the different views we had on it.
Oh yeah,
but like suddenly,
this was the thing. That was the other annoyance. Was I was in the queue. I suddenly got the message saying Miro and Will Hobbs.
Will Hobbs, yeah, having a brawl. Yeah, and this was like at 2:15. Now, my theory on this, because when we did the show last week, I spoke about like AEW runs long, seemingly often. Now, obviously, for TV shows, they do have to cut things, but when it comes to pay-per-views, they can seemingly last forever. And I was like, Wembley aren't going to let them overrun, because people need to get out, and they won't want people on their doorstep. So it was interesting that there was almost no hubbub in between matches. Like, it was like as soon as someone's winning, like, theme played, like 2 minutes, like a minute later, they were playing the next vignette for the next match.
Oh, yeah, it's really smoothly run.
Yeah, it was super, like, but like compared to Clash at the Castle last year, there was adverts, there was promos, there was, you know, all this stuff. Whereas, excuse me, this, it was like, well, okay, so the whole rumoured Grado, Jeff Jarrett thing, is like, well, clearly that was a plan, but they were just like, we can't fit it in. So we'll do it on the pre-show before what we've even announced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get on to our reaction to what we did see. You didn't miss too much with Hobbs and Miro. You didn't miss, so you missed Big Show as well, I guess.
I got there and started taking my seats as Big Show was out there. I had heard the big rock music, and the first thing I saw on the screen was the big words Grado, and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
to hit Jarrett with the guitar and yeah,
it's so interesting. Like, obviously, Big Show is a big recognisable name, and I'm pleased that he got the chance to be at Wembley for AEW and everything, even if it was a completely minor role. But they had him and Satnam Singh stand there, and even though it would be a terrible match, they still needed to, like, just tease it rather than just, like, the knockout punch straight away. It was the most rushed segment. And Jarrett's promo where he was like, you know, you don't deserve credit. This is for Crockett, and this is for USWA, or whatever you're saying. I was like, no one here knows what you're talking about. And he was like, no one knows World of Sport. I was like, yeah, most people here probably don't know World of Sport other than the phrase World of Sport. You know, you don't need to play this to this crowd here.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know, because I think AEW does sort of strike more of a chord with the hardcore fans more than the casuals. I think. So I think a lot of people there did sort of like know a lot of.
Yeah, like, but I
like
think
that.
for them to know World of Sport, other than its revival thing a few years ago, they needed to have watched the Wrestling Channel, and that's like 20 years since that wasn't a thing. So
yeah, well, I think there's a lot of people there of our age range that would have done that. I know there's a lot of people I know.
Well, that is fair play.
Going to the wrestling, so yeah, I think,
but then we get onto the matches. Now, most of us had like similar predictions for the show. We started off Aussie Open against Better Than You, Baby, and MJF and Cole took it. What was your reaction to that?
My initial reaction was I laughed.
Right.
It's like, obviously, it was like a likely situation, but I thought there might be some sort of DQ or a no contest of some kind and all that sort of stuff. But I guess they had to like get over the double clothesline, the kangaroo kick, and all that sort of stuff. So it was, in hindsight, I was thinking, yeah, they've been teasing the kangaroo kick for like last week and a half. So they had to hit it at some point. That had to lead to the downfall of Aussie Open, but. It was a perfectly fine palate cleanser, but it is a bit weird to have the world champion in the opening match on the pre-show.
Yeah. That was such a interesting choice. It feels like so much of the build-up to this show was within the last 10 days.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you know, from my constant moaning about it on the group chat, that I was just beyond befuddled as to why they hadn't announced even, like, one definite name until, like, 3.5 weeks before the show or something?
I think the first match announced was MJF and Cole.
Yeah, that was the first one. That was only about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's like, are we going to do something here? I mean, this is supposedly the biggest show of all time, and you're not actually treating it build up much more than you would a house show at the moment.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's what's annoying me. And yeah, but let's say it was never. I know there's a few people in the chat and some people said to me, you know that it's still going to be good, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, of course, I still know it's going to be good because the wrestlers are too good to not make it good. And you know, everything's going to be certainly watchable. But yeah, there was a few that were coming out with thinking, is this Wembley worthy and things like that. So there was a few like matches on the card where it was like, you could have had something a bit more epic and things like that. I know a lot of people were hoping for a Kenny Omega singles match and things like that, you know, and yeah, so but as I say, it was like I said though, it was a smooth running show full of like there were some really great moments, especially with some of the entrances as well. And,
the entrances, Dave. Now, just very quickly, like you were like somewhere like up fairly high. I was on the pitch. Like now, I think I was behind where like the view of the hard cam would have been, or maybe not. I'm not sure. But whatever the situation was. They just didn't tell like the front rows to sit down ever. We were constantly sit down. By the time we got to the main event, there were like 6 like security or stewards or whatever just standing there watching the show, and we're like, sit down. Like obviously we could see the screen, but it was a case of when the audience was sat, we could see it pretty well. Like when they'd go down for like a submission hold, we might not be able to see them clearly. But with everyone stood up, it's like, well, now we have to stand up. And so now we're just like, the Stadium Stampede match, we literally just watched on the screen. And that wasn't just when they were backstage, because most of it happened in the ring, which was a little bit disappointing. But anyway, we're skipping ahead. The most talked about match of the night, obviously, was Jungle Boy Jack Perry against Sending Hook.
I've only watched this match today because I had to go use the facilities and go get some drinks during this bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm missing a match, and I thought, it's only Jack Perry.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad for a pre-show match.
The moment everyone was talking about, you know, the whole thing where he shouts to the camera, "Oh, it's real glass. Deal with it." Whatever it was.
Yeah.
He said like a petulant child. Has anyone actually like told him that using fake sugar glass would actually be a much better effect and safer than using whatever?
Well, then,
and if that's what you wanted to do, like on a windshield, then fair enough. You can see that's the whole point of a windshield. It's supposed to contain so it doesn't shatter everywhere and things like that and burst out everywhere. So if that's what you wanted to do, I guess I don't know. But
but like even when we got to the Stadium Stampede with I think it was Orange Cassidy with the sugar glass clearly.
The Type A.
Yeah, bang like this, and it's like this. It didn't look like glass, but you don't actually want to use real glass. Like I was there with Rachel, my girlfriend, and when he got the spaghetti out, I literally turned to her and said, "Don't watch this bit." And then she was like, "No, I want to see it." And kudos to her. But I was like, "Oh God, what, she's going to judge me so much on this." And
hang on, was it spaghetti that he put in Moxley's head?
What was it then?
I thought it was skewers.
Oh, it might have been skewers. To me, it just, we said about. We said they spaghetti. I genuinely thought it was spaghetti. Okay, it may have been the skewers there, but it just looked like, you got to remember that I was like, we were sat on the floor.
Oh my God, the fettuccine!
Yeah, exactly, man. It was just a packet of spaghetti. But anyway, so Jungle Hook exploded. And then, obviously, the big thing, which we can touch on again, perhaps a bit more later, was it almost changed the first match of the show, and Punk still went out there. Sorry, go ahead.
I do this predictions sort of league, and one of the predictions you have to make in there is the match order, things like that. So I didn't have Joe and Punk as the opener at all, but I also was thinking, they're gonna have to space it out so that Punk is well away from the Elite.
Yeah.
So that they don't actually mix up. You think about the first matches: Punk Joe, then the Golden Elite, then the Young Bucks. Hang on, and of all the people he has a run-in with, it's Jack Perry.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, okay, so have you heard this story over the last day that Punk had to get the tube?
Else being talked about.
No, but the story with Punk had to get the tube from Heathrow because they didn't arrange and the guy that was supposed to make the arrangements on his profile was literally stand-in Young Buck, and it's that's kind of hilarious, the twists and turns on this. I thought this was all coming to a head, but there may still be life in it yet.
I've got it from a very reliable source that most of that story is absolute rubbish, because apparently this person I know who's quite well in a lot of the wrestling fraternity has said that she saw Punk having a Nando's with House of Black around about this time. It's supposed to be happening, so it might all be rubbish.
What? So okay, so that is a heck of a scoop. Breaking news: CM Punk in Nando's. Now that should be verifiable. We need to find out where the nearby Nando's is.
Oh well. But as I say, there's not much to say about Hook and Perry. But Joe and Punk, I thought exceeded my expectations a bit. I wasn't expecting any of their Ring of Honor epics or anything like that. But I said, considering the sort of limitations they now have, but they still went and did a very entertaining matchup with the finish I did not expect to happen. So I think you guys last week were saying, how is Punk going to hit a GTS on Joe after 15-20 minutes match and things like that, when he couldn't do it on Collision the other week, fresh and things like that. And he said, no, I just won't. I'll just do the Pepsi Plunge instead.
Yeah. How about that? So, I thought it was a great match. For the actual opening of the show proper, it's it's the old saying: if you're not on last, you go on first.
Yeah. And
so they have two world titles. Technically, the FTW is a world championship as well. They've got so many world championships now, but so they were starting off with world title after world title. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome to see Punk against Joe live. They did that bit where right in the first match as well, where Joe swings Punk and he smashes under the commentary table. And I was like, so they've got this set out here with this fascia along the front, and it's just broken within the first 4 minutes of the match.
And the first person to bleed in the night is Punk, which I wasn't expecting. Obviously Moxley's usually the favourite for that situation. But,
it
was a very good match.
Yeah, absolutely. Bullet Club Gold against the Golden Elite. I've just made the connection that they're both golden teams. There's so much in AEW where there's slight gimmick crossovers, which I don't think... WWE famously wouldn't allow Steve Regal to be Steve Regal because there were too many Steves on the roster. Yeah. And now we've got the Golden Elite against Bullet Club Gold, in the same match, and 3 world championships and all this kind of stuff. It's a bit they are a bit chaotic in just some of like the continuity editing, just to make sure things don't cross over.
Yeah.
But the match, go for it.
The match was perfectly all right. I was really happy with it. I think there's some sort of conspiracy, or not conspiracy, but opinion going around that Takeshi is not over as a bad guy and all that sort of stuff, and it's just Callis that's getting the heat. Yeah, obviously Callis is the one that's getting the heat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's supposed to be playing off of Takeshi, who's obviously got the role at win to go into the match next, the next pay per view, and it was entertaining. Like 20 minutes or so. I thought Ibushi looked a bit better than he had done the previous time. So,
yeah.
So it was nice to see. Still not quite at where he was, but don't know if he ever will be, because he had such a long layoff. So
yeah, exactly. But it was, if I remember correct, was he the one that kind of didn't go a bit crazy, but like started saying that they were involved with the mafia and stuff? I forget, this was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was when he was doing New Japan. He'd been injured, but he was on the outs with them because of I can't remember everything, but he was saying some scurrilous things about New Japan.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, just with like Forbidden Door, and then what's this new event called? Golden Dream or something? I can't remember. Like so the close links there. Hopefully AEW helps smooth things over with Ibushi.
Yeah. We can still work with him for him as an independent talent, I guess, which is probably what he wants. He's much more as an independent spirit. I've heard this from someone I know who booked him over here in the UK a few times, and he just said, like, yeah, the guy's just totally a free spirit mind. He just thinks completely outside the box of what he wants to do, and obviously in Japan maybe don't cater to that for him. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, as I say, it was an entertaining match. But I was just worried that Punk and Omega were going to cross backstage, and then obviously I got the message saying on the group chat about what happened with Chad Perry, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But,
yeah, go ahead.
Go on, no, go on.
No, so, I thought it was a good match. Like, what the hell is the theme music Takeshika's comes out to? Because, like, in the arena, it was just a hum. Yeah, like, I haven't paid attention to these intros over the last however many weeks, but it was awful. I thought major technical difficulties, but
it's just an evil hum for John Callis. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, it's like
an evil drone hum.
So, the guns got a little bit involved there, but mostly there wasn't too much like shenanigans. Omega looked really strong at the end, but then obviously it was the finish actually. It was a little bit of a wasn't even. You go ahead.
To Robinson, then to White, and as he was about to he was going a bit.
It was something of a clean finish, all in all, wasn't it?
It got rolled up, and I think Takeshi may have had the tights. I'm not sure, but
okay, maybe. But that was the interesting thing. Other than like the guns with a little bit of shenanigans, it was something of a clean like loss, and like Omega was like shocked afterwards.
Yeah, and it didn't kill the crowd, I think, but a lot of the crowd were like, "Oh,
yeah." I was shocked by it.
I think that's what you need sometimes.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of shock result sometimes, don't you? These things, and I think it being a trios match, like I say, I think a lot of people in the build-up wanted that big Kenny Omega like epic singles match, and they got this trios match, which certainly everyone was hugely happy with, but it served the purpose of getting into the next show, which, as you said on the group chat earlier, at the moment for All Out is looking like an episode of Rampage.
Yeah, so, it is. Now, obviously, that's just because they haven't announced World Championships and stuff like this. But once they do that, we'll pick up. But at the moment, it's like the TBS and TNT title and what have you. Okay, so next up we had FTR defeating the Young Bucks. This was by far the match. When the result happened, I was like literally shocked, and because obviously everything with Wheeler, and there were chants in the crowd. I can't remember. There was a great one where they were singing "Wheeler's got a gun."
Got a gun, got a gun.
Wheeler's got a gun. That was great. When I heard that, I cracked up.
Oh, I actually went, "Oh my god!"
That was great. But
it was Dynamite the week before though, when they did the sort of like the brawl with Bullet Club Gold, and they came to help out the Young Bucks, and noticed that Wheeler went after I think he went after Robinson first, but then couldn't help himself. He went after one of the guns.
Very good. So of the FTR Young Buck trilogy, was this the first one in front of a crowd, or did their second one get in front of a crowd?
The second one was in front of the crowd.
It
yeah,
was,
that was
wasn't
on
it?
a Dynamite thing.
Yeah. Okay, what did you think of it though? I thought it was a really good match, but I felt there was some woolly bits towards the end.
I just think the other way around. Actually, I thought it was a bit. It was difficult because I had to use the loop during the first half of the match, so I had to just go and run and do that, and come back and then concentrate fully on the match. And it wasn't massively interesting me in the first half.
Okay.
I think whenever it was that they hit the first spike pile driver and then got a near fall off of that, and I think then I started getting really into it because that was almost like the last half or last third of the match, and it was like the whole last half of the match was like one go home after another. It was like then this is the fall, this is the finish, this is the finish, this one's the finish, that one's definitely the finish. No, they just kicked out one of the finishes. It was so that was it got really good, and then and that finishing bit where he went for the Meltzer driver or whatever it was, it sprung up and then avoided it and then jumped and ended up being jumped straight into a shatter machine. That was that finish was chef's kiss.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was like a few bits where it just felt like they'd got their rhythm off. There was like a couple of roll-ups where it really felt like I don't know, I think it was Dax and maybe Matt were just sort of like fumbling over each other. And I felt like at least one of I thought there was going to be a finish, and I thought that when someone kicked out, it's like, it's because it didn't look clean. They're going for it again. The Bucks are taking it, and then they didn't. But also, who was it? Was it Dax or Dax or Cash? I love their names. But like Dax or Cash that hit that like 450 splash or something, which was
Cash,
yeah, quite unexpected for them.
That was the callbacks, because they did a few callbacks, didn't they? They did the Bulldog Brett ending at one point. That roll up, didn't they? They counted for that. Got tribute to that with the sharpshooters as well.
Did you see the Bucks with the Brett pose?
Don't remember that.
That was great. Like again, in the emotion of the moment, as the big Hart fan, I was like, they can't do that, mocking the Hitman, and then they got the sharpshooters, etc.
But they really sprung up to do the 450 and missed it, and then got hit with the super kick. That was the ending to their first match.
Yes.
So that was the callback to that, and obviously this time where they kicked out. So. Lots of different callbacks, and I think a lot of people really seem to enjoy it. They've got a sustained reaction, ovation for the rest of it, and it was
Do we know it's like 7-star rating or not yet, or has that not come out yet?
So I've got to watch it again because obviously, as I say, the first half I sort of wasn't able to concentrate, so I need to watch it again. But
how are you catching it again? Have you got the pay-per-view? Something I've seen on the internet is it may be coming on ITV this week, which is incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like genuinely. If it's true, I saw it and then I looked it up like a second time. There was something like it's going to be on ITV4, but that might be nonsense where someone just lied. But
I mean, I really hope that people who just exclusively watch AEW on ITV weren't like completely confused, or not going to be completely confused this week when they watch Collision, like whenever it was on Monday night, Tuesday night, whenever it's on, and they say they're still promoting the Wembley show, because it's like they're still announcing matches on that show, the show that has actually happened the day before. Yeah,
that's always the unfortunate thing when they've shown stuff in the UK that they wouldn't normally. Because I remember like years ago with like Sky, it was they didn't used to show it live at a certain point. And so there would sometimes be that the next show has happened before we've seen the previous show. But anyway, so what did we have next? We had Stadium Stampede. I don't care for this kind of stuff.
Did the BCC enter the area you were at?
Not far from it, like very close, but the other side. We were like on the inside of the aisle, they were on the outside of it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Loads of people were running around, and Rachel's like, "Go!" And I was like, "They're gonna grab me if I run too far," because I felt I was just too far away to justify running around for it.
It was it was like, I mean, I was looking at, obviously I knew where I was thinking there's absolutely, considering I've had to take 3 or 4 flights of escalators to get up here. There's not a chance they're going to do any brawling up here. So I'll just keep them out. And I sort of like just about see Claudio and Eddie and Wheeler and Chuck doing their segment in the crowd. Just like I leant forward a bit. I could just about see them what they're doing there. And I just felt a bit bad for the security guard who came a cropper with Eddie at the bar. I'm pretty sure was one was Man Like Therese, British independent wrestler. He's,
okay.
I think also was one of the guys that was thrown about by Roman in the British SmackDown.
That's pretty cool.
And he's getting his work in there, is Therese. I enjoyed seeing Stampede for what it was. It was, as I say, a lot more bloody than I had to explain to Nicole. I hadn't seen Stampedes before. I say usually these ones were done a little bit more for humour. This is the most bloody and violent one we've seen so far.
Yeah, exactly. So sat with Rachel when like Orange Cassidy was being stabbed in the head with a fork repeatedly. I was just like. Yeah. I was like, well, I can't say this is fake blood because it's obviously not fake blood. But yeah, see, the thing is, hardcore wrestling of like the Moxley nature and that. I'm not like I like ECW and I liked ECW back in the day and it was shocking back in the day. But when like there was like Combat Zone Wrestling and XPW, which were taking things too like for me too far. Yeah, I never go in for like not that AEW do it, but like the light tubes and stuff like that. You know, when I saw that, this is clearly not real glass with Orange Cassidy. I'm like, yeah, this is fine, whatever. The spaghetti, you know, I wasn't as bad with the spaghetti as I expected to be. But like the forks,
still calling it spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like spaghetti, right? But yeah, so
Trent Beretta is becoming the hardcore guy of AEW at the minute. He's done so many like hardcore matches just recently. He's bleeding every single time. He wants to be the next John Moxley, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. Like, how old is Trent though? It's like it feels like he's still trying to carve out who he is.
Literally.
Well, yeah, exactly. Jesus, I was about to say I think he's a bit past it. He's younger than me, so yeah, he may still do it. He's 36. How about that?
What did you make of? Because I hadn't realised he'd gone for so long until.
What was this? Penta.
Penta, when he re-entered in his new garb, and I was like, oh my god, we're getting Penta Oscuro again, and then just suddenly heard Penta says it's time for change or something like that. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen now? And I actually hadn't realised he'd left the match.
No, not at all.
I was a bit confused.
Yeah.
But then, what did he do? He ended up doing a table spot with Santana. Oh, sorry, Mike Santana, who apparently he was being announced as. I heard it's Mike Santana.
Oh, yeah, it says Mike Santana.
Yeah, that's why I watched the couple of the entrances from the official channels on the way back. My fiancée Nina had been watching them as well, just to see what the thing was going on. She's and I heard him being announced as coming to the ring, Mike Santana, Ortiz. I was like, who's Mike Santana?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So Penta just did a bit with him, and then he was gone again. And I was like, okay, thanks for that, Penta.
Yeah. Well, it's not really I don't think that's the right. Stadium Stampede, I don't think they had the right teams. Blackpool Combat Club, it's like when they do Blood and Guts. You kind of need a really solid faction, and having the best friends, who, you say Trent is trying to be the next Moxley, but he's a best friend. There is a disconnect for me there. Eddie Kingston, fair enough. You know, Penta. I don't think he fits this kind of match.
You've not seen the hardcore stuff he did on Lucha Underground though. He's very.
I never really watched Lucha Underground, so yeah.
He's got deathmatch.
I saw him first, I think, in MLW, and so he was just like a flying, etc., etc. By the way, John says hello. Hello, John, wherever you are, whoever you are.
Oh no! If you ever want to see Penta and see how hardcore or how deathmatchy he can get, just watch the Lucha Underground Season 1 finale against Vampiro. That is quite a shocking match.
Okay, no, I will have to see some more of this.
That's the one thing I do want to note is that we're talking about how matches ended and they run the VT, the trailer for the next match, and everything would go on. So also they're all like lying there, Moxie and Eddie are sort of like laying it with each other in against the table in the corner, going like that to each other and what's in there. But as soon as the lights go out, they roll out. Obviously, they have to get ready for the next match, but they're still keeping in character because you wouldn't see this. But I was watching them as they were going back, they were walking back down the aisle. They're walking back out sort of together, but sort of like on either side of the thing. They're just arguing with each other, saying, "Oh, you talking about that."
Well, that's good. Yeah,
the whole way around, just keeping character the whole way, which is brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what they should do.
Keeping the whole story of it, not coming to blows, but they're just like saying, "Why did you do that?" Well, yeah, because you can imagine they're just like, "Why?" They're doing the same thing they're doing on TV. It's like because the whole thing of you're supposed to be my friend. Well, that guy's my friend. I don't like that guy. Why are you supporting that guy?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. I like to hit. That's attention to detail I like.
Yeah.
But
and
like,
also, ring crew changing the canvas so freaking quickly. That is incredible.
I know. This is literally what I was about to say, Dave. I was like, when they played that, like the vignette going into the next match, and then obviously Saraya came out first with "We Will Rock You."
I was at the women's match, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was like, how are they gonna have got the stuff like the debris cleared out, but they'd changed the canvas, everything. But yeah, so next up we had what was the shortest match of the night, 4-way for the women's championship. Saraya takes it, which I think was the right decision. Some people, I don't understand the people that don't think that was the right decision. Don't know if you caught any of that.
Sorry, you froze on me for a moment there.
Likewise, Dave. It's all good. Right, so I was going to say, there's... You good?
No, I was going to say, I don't know if Saraya winning is the right decision, but maybe on the night for the pop, I suppose it's the right thing to do. But it's just a shame that that on a big show like this with so much time and such a big women's roster that they couldn't find another match for women. And again, like I said, the shortest match on the card.
Shortest match, that's the point,
involving 4 women, technically 5, because they flew Ruby Soho out to run to the ring and run back again. And, I mean, easy payday for her, fair enough. But,
but I'm sure she'd have liked to have been in a match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like the interesting thing behind me here, obviously, for when it was first announced, they were probably like, "What happened? Where is Jade nowadays?"
I don't know. I don't know. She may just be on the way out or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and who is she's Chris Statlander, isn't it? Is the TBS champion?
Yeah.
And
obviously they couldn't have Jamie Hayter because she's still injured.
But like, so Chris Statlander against Ruby Soho next week, and that they must just be disappointed. That could have been, even if it was a pre-show match, that could have been not. Yeah. I mean, imagine taking off MJF and Cole versus Aussie Open for that match, but in a sense they could have. Or when you look at the results. Obviously, they've got the pre-show, the 0 hours to sell the show. We had, in that 0 hour, the MJF match was 7 minutes 45. Hook and Jungle Boy were 8 minutes 20. They could have had a 10-minute Ruby Soho match there.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
I do agree. I don't know about you. Like, I think this whole show was designed to be crowd-pleasing. Because even though some people may have wanted the Young Bucks to win, and like the crowd in the area I was very anti CM Punk. So luckily I bought this on the day as well. I didn't wear this one, but I was like chanting for Punk. But I was chanting for Punk, and I was like, well, it's fine. It's a wrestling show. I'm going to cheer for who I want. But at the same time, I was like, wow, I am the sole CM Punk supporter in this section. And so like not everyone got the result they wanted. But for the most part, I feel like it was designed to be not advancing storylines, but just sort of like this is their SummerSlam '92. They're going to have a big happy thing at the end of a lot of the matches. I don't imagine Saraya is going to keep the women's championship like in a week's time. I think they're going to do a quick change here.
Well, more quicker than Shida had to do. Which is unfortunate. But
wait, what do you mean?
Well, Shida only won the title about 3 weeks.
Shida. Oh, sorry, I thought I said she had to do. But yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's I will say though, I think Tony Storm's character development in the last 3 weeks has been quite superb for someone I've never really rated on the character front.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. I know she's. I think this must be something inspired by the fact she's about to film this TV show. Her and a couple of other wrestlers have been cast as sort of women from back in the day for a biography, either film or TV series.
I don't know about this,
Yeah,
Dave.
who it is.
Yeah.
I forget who it is, but she's been cast as a classic wrestler from the 1960s and all that sort of stuff, which is probably why she's had like the Marilyn Monroe do and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And that's been, I guess, inspiring the new like look and the new attitude and all that sort of stuff. And she's been really good, I've got to say. I've got to give her credit. Yeah, like I say, it was a crowd please. As soon as all the nights came out, I was like, okay, I think Saraya might be winning here, especially her coming out to Queen as well. Yeah, like I say, crowd pleasing sort of thing, and it's just to keep that atmosphere going. I guess you don't want to turn the crowd on you. At the same time, though, to make that crowd pleasing, crowd pleasing moment happen, have they just completely eradicated the storyline they had going with the Outcasts? Because they seem to have just basically split them all up straight away without really having any sort of build up to
I'm sure they can repair it quite quickly. Like to have, like, obviously, so Ruby did come down. You know, they're like, it was the perfect way to have, like, you know, Saraya's face, like, you just hit my mum sort of thing. It's like you can easily say, look, we made up later, emotions were high, that was my mum, blah blah blah. That they can undo that, but they, again, in a 9-minute match, they had to do an awful lot very quickly to sell the idea that the two teammates are going to start fighting each other. You know.
Yeah, it's just that's not the only. I mean, I can't remember how long we have to talk about the particular match I'm thinking of, but that there was another thing that happened where a storyline suddenly changed very very quickly. And with implications for this show. So this is the only thing I think they've got.
Which match are you talking about? Just so I've got it in.
We'll come to it now.
Okay.
I'll talk about, I'll talk about this.
Okay, well, next up anyway, we had Darby and Sting defeating.
Oh, this is the match I'm talking about.
Okay, okay. So what? AR Fox situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what happened there? What's your take on what?
The news is that AR Fox has suddenly told them that he wasn't able to travel. And so they've just gone, okay, well, we're kicking you out of this stable then, you're now not going to be part of the local affiliates thing because you lose this match, random match, and they just take him out of the thing. I don't mind the idea of that maybe Swerve could have said, I can't trust you with this match, sorry, you're going to have to stay here and things like that and just work on yourself or what have you. Instead of just kicking him out of the stable seemed a bit, I don't know, out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with Darby, Sting and Nick Wayne making the save for him and saying, oh, we'll welcome you back, you're still my friend, and all that sort of stuff. And Nick Wayne sort of like staying there, being okay with AR Fox being there, despite the fact that like, a week and a half ago on television, he invaded his home and gym and bloodied him up quite severely.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. So it was, I guess, 18-year-olds quite easily forgiving. I don't know if I was that easily forgiving of things when I was 18 years old. But,
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a strange little thing to do. But I will say that Sting and Darby entrance, oh my god, that was amazing.
Do you know what? Because like, so did Sting back in the day have that exact theme, or did he have a knockoff theme?
He had. I think he used to come out to that at certain things. I know the last time I ever saw him live, not wrestling, because I've never seen him wrestle before this show, live. I know before that he'd come out and made independent appearances with using that thing, like special appearances, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm guessing he's still. He must have done.
1 second, Dave. 1 second. Right.
Oh, we've got chat stuff going on.
Well, a chat is happening, but TJ may be trying to join us last minute. Like,
it's a bit last minute. You said you needed.
Yeah, I know. It's like I can stay a little bit longer, but I can't. I can.
We'll rush through the rest of the show.
I can scarcely push it to restart for when TJ gets here, and he's like, "What did you think of Hook?" And I'm like, "No, we're past that. We're past that." Right? Okay, so. But yeah, no, Sting and Darby, like I always thought it was like great that Christian was added to the match. Just device not connected. Come on, that doesn't quite work for me. Add to stream. Way!
Hey, there he is.
Hello, TJ. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. We are live. We have a classic run in here from TJ. TJ. Where in the world are you right now?
In my room. in my mom's basement.
Well, obviously, as is the classic. But are you? Which
In
country are you
Germany.
in?
I'm in Germany right now.
Ah, so you didn't come over for All In.
No, no, no. I wanted to, but there were some visa issues. Damn it, Brexit.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, but getting the visa was difficult, and I had other stuff to like work on. So
Well, the good news, even though this is skipping ahead a tiny bit, is that it'll be back next year, so you can start working on that.
yeah, will for sure be. I think if I have like a year to, organize stuff, it'll be easier, and yeah, for sure I'm going there next year.
Awesome. Okay, now TJ, like I can't actually stick on the show for too much longer, but I'll try to stick as long as I can. I'll let you know if I'm having to wrap things up
Okay.
very quickly. But we were just going through the
Yeah.
matches. We were up to Darby and Sting defeating Swerve and Christian. Did you actually see the pay-per-view, TJ?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay, so what was your take on that match?
Darby and Sting. I mean, Sting's great as always. It's amazing the things that this guy can do at like I don't know 65 years old, and my back. I'm like 28, and my back is still is paining at this stage in my life. It's amazing what Sting can do.
Why
I
does he
like that
keep?
Sting channeled John Tenter with that shot through the table with
Well, this is what I was about. Dave, you keep literally saying what I'm on the verge of saying. It's like, but I wasn't going to say it in the John Tenter sense. But why does Sting keep insisting on putting himself like flying and jumping through tables now? He's loving doing it. But I loved the fact that it didn't break, and the audience was saying one more time, and he was like, "Okay, let's just go and break this table."
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's a people pleaser.
Okay,
That's
so
what people do.
here's the thing though. So when we had a couple of comedic moments with like fingers still being
That was
outside.
great.
That was brilliant. But my point was,
He used to do the taunt like this. Him and the Rascals used to like do this. I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing.
yeah. But here's the thing. Swerve's hair was not in
Yeah.
the casket.
I saw that from where I was saying.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
great.
this match is not over. You know, the perfect way to have addressed that if that had actually been their
Television
plan.
this week and says no, that match should be null and void.
Yeah.
Watch the replay.
My hair.
is still-
And then they have a match at All Out because they need something to build for matches, which is literally like All Out is literally this Sunday
I know.
or Saturday.
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, so
Payback's on Saturday.
Oh my god, what a busy weekend of wrestling. Right,
yeah.
okay, so I really enjoyed it though. It was fantastic. I think I have seen Sting. Have you guys like who here, Dave? Obviously, I think you've seen a lot more live wrestling than me, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen Sting live before?
I've never seen Sting live, never seen Christian live before either. I'd seen Sting make an appearance at Revolution Pro at York Hall a few years, number of years ago. That was just like an appearance. You know, that was it. He came out, spoke for a few minutes, then went back. I was like, okay.
See, I saw a few of the TNA shows when they came to like mid 2000s, 2007, 2008, something like this, 2009, and I'm fairly sure Sting was at it. I can't honestly remember now, and that's so terrible. Like, I've got old photos, but I can't remember if it was in the era where Christian was there or not. But I because I'd been to SummerSlam 2013, I saw Christian there. But like to see Sting live, it's like, wow, how many more opportunities are we going to get to see Sting wrestle live? You know, like
I've got to say as well done to whoever was in the crowd that started the TNA chant, because I actually started that in my section, ironically. TNA.
Yeah.
And someone started it, obviously, and that spread around the whole arena, the whole
Yeah.
stadium. I was like, yes!
yeah, and they made quite a thing of that like face off before, and they like teased it before they actually got into putting those two fighting together and stuff. But no, I thought that was a very good match. I thought it was going to be that they had to get both of them in the casket, and I was like, that's such a small casket to get both
I
of them
also
in.
thought that. I also thought that.
I don't know if everyone else caught it. I don't know if they broadcast, but it was quite funny when they obviously had brought the casket out for the match. And just before they rang the bell, I suddenly saw all the stagehands were turning the casket around. So around. So obviously they must have realised that the door was supposed to like open on the other side for them to do their spots. And someone went on the wrong way around, spin it around quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next up we had Jericho and Ospreay. Thoughts on this?
Better than I had expected.
Better than I expected.
Better than I expected. Had to make the trifecta there. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I felt this match was more about Jericho proving that he could still go. And it wasn't the longest match in the world, but I think probably Jericho left everything he had out there in the ring.
Yeah. It helps tremendously with the fact that Ospreay can like make everyone look really good. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was doing a lot of the work around Jericho's limitations, clearly.
I hadn't realised what had happened, but I think I thought that Jericho had gone from like a lion soul to standing Ospreay, and I thought he dropped himself on his head, and then he like botched it up. And I was like, I literally had what the fuck was that? And I realised he was doing the Oscar to Ospreay. I was like, oh right, okay, I get it now, right.
I marked out so hard at that spot. Like my big complaint before this feud was announced was, I mean, if you follow the dirt sheets, you'd know that this match was rumored. And for me, it was like, is that the match Ospreay is getting in this big event? I really wanted Ospreay versus Omega Part 3. But then, it's not that I have a problem with Jericho versus Ospreay, but Jericho's main strength is in the storytelling. This guy made a list over. And I figured there should have been a bit more build to it. It shouldn't have been like a subplot.
To everything like.
Yeah.
Everything needed a bigger build to it. This is what I said in the chat, and I was saying in the show before it came on, is that the build to this show was not good.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that's why I kept thinking, well, we're a month away, we've got no names announced for it. We haven't got anyone actually officially announced for it. And then like later that week, they finally announced Cole and MJF, and then it was like still another week before we got FTR Young Bucks announced. And it's, and yeah, I say this annoying habit that AEW have of confirming everything the week or 2 weeks before, and they've got to confirm a lot this week.
Yeah, this week's going to be crazy. What they could have done to address that is they could have had some of the people that weren't on the show where it's announced, well, the winner of this match is going to face this person. And look, we haven't even spoke about Mercedes Moné in the audience and stuff, but they could have had like someone in the crowd just watching a match, and then like, oh, I'm going to face the winner of this. Am I going to get involved? Just something so they've got some vignettes to be showing when they start Dynamite. Okay, but no, go ahead.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of people saying that Ospreay was doing the G1, so he couldn't be there. You didn't need that. Like when Omega versus Jericho was announced, Jericho just showed up after I think Omega's match in Dominion or somewhere. He just showed up at the Tron. You could have literally done that. Ospreay showing up on the Tron.
Yeah.
But that's Japan. They make it a lot simpler, and it's like and things like that are like done, and they say that's a few months in advance. You know, it's not like the week after or things like that. It's like at least that's the initial thing. It's what they did with Danielson and Okada, wasn't it? They just shot to a film of him.
Something, on Jericho and Ospreay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was this the first person to kick out the Judas Effect? To kick out the Judas Effect.
I think so.
No.
I think he's the first.
Who else has?
I don't know. Maybe Moxley in their match. I think maybe.
No. I don't think so.
I'll try to fact check it.
Incredibly protected.
There was like a slow get to the goal. It was like a good couple of seconds before he actually made a cover, and I think that's what it was. I don't think anyone's kicked out the Judas Effect like immediately. But I think they had.
Okay, yeah, Mox got his shoulder up. So yeah, you are right. Mox kicked out the Judas Effect, but still, like, who did?
No, I'm just saying, there's been one or two, but not many.
Yeah, okay. But I was like, so people saying, should this just be like say people wanted Omega versus Ospreay again and stuff like this. It's like, this is going to be the show where certainly in terms of the arena, they had more people there than they've ever had by like quadruple. So I think they had about 20 or 22 or something like this thousand at one of their shows before, like Arthur Ashe or something.
Yeah.
And for this many people there, it's like when you look at the card, one thing that I do give them credit for is that Jericho was, other than perhaps Punk, the biggest name on there. Jericho and Punk are the biggest names on the card. Ospreay, and I said this on Slam Jam from last week, is like, yeah, it's going to be a wrestling crowd, but if this is drawing more eyes to it than ever, you can lay into, yeah, he's English. But there's going to be so many people who don't know who he is, who will know who Jericho is. But there's going to be an awful lot of people who won't know who Kenny Omega is. And so saying Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, people will be like, have I heard of them? But when you say Chris Jericho against the English hometown, whatever, it's like, you know, and then he kicks out the Judas Effect. And it was a good match. You know, I wouldn't say it was the best match I've seen either of them in, but it was, you know, very good for this crowd, for this show. It didn't let the side down. It's like, well, this was them making Will Ospreay, and I do believe what Ospreay said on Dynamite or whatever show it was like a week ago. If his contract's coming up, this, you know, is a massive bid from Tony Khan to say, well, look, we're going back to Wembley next year, you know, and we're going to do this and whatever else he's got planned. That he wants Ospreay, and he probably wants, you know, if MJF is coming up his contract next year, that's probably what, you know, a big reason why MJF, you're the main event here, and you can be next year. WWE, they can offer you big arenas and stuff as well, stadiums. But I think Tony Khan did put some of his pieces on the chessboard to secure those future deals.
And I suppose response will probably be, bruv, what, bruv? I'll sign it, bruv.
Okay, do you think, where do you think Ospreay is going next, just quickly? Because I can push this a few more minutes, but literally not very many more.
AEW. I think he would want to keep his relation with New Japan like intact, so with AEW he can still do that. And I also don't see Ospreay in that promo on Dynamite. He did, Jericho mentioned that he asked Ospreay to slow down. I also really don't see Ospreay doing the WWE style. I think, and he has said this, he wants to prioritize his style of wrestling, is the way he wrestles, over going somewhere and making more money. So I think in AEW he gets to make more money, he gets to be himself, and so yeah, he gets to work in New Japan.
Okay, yeah, no, there's all fair points. Next up, we had the acclaimed and badass Billy Gunn against the House of Black. Thoughts on this, anyone?
The rap was good.
I haven't even checked it out yet. I know there was the Prince Andrew line, but the audience reacted.
No one else heard the second line.
No one, yeah, not at all.
Why no one reacted to it? Then I heard it back on the VT, and I was like, okay, it didn't deserve that much reaction anyway.
Oh, was it not good?
It was something to do with Meghan Markle and wankers. That's about it. I can't remember the third one. No, it was fun. It was fine. I realised that my ordering, I should have put this a little later in my ordering for the match order, because it would make sense for the House of Black to make their entrance in darkness.
Yeah. So. I think that, but also it was kind of a perfect palate cleanser. Like I felt this was perfectly placed, so it wasn't going to be as big a match. You know, Billy Gunn is more over now. Like when they obviously, now he's a champion, so unless they're about to take the belts off him again in a week's time and then he'll actually retire. I hope he doesn't actually retire yet. When he was on Dynamite like a week ago and he was doing his promo and his hand was shaking, I was like, well, he might need to retire. So he might be saying he's retiring, and they were like saying, well, we'll do a retirement angle and we'll give you one more match and one more championship. But, you know, if he has to retire, he has to retire. But
do you think the trios titles are like... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
That's right, you said that.
No. I don't care about the butt.
Fair enough. I was going to say, do you think the trios titles are worth it in terms of a lot of stuff? Because I think a lot of from people I know in wrestling and podcasting and things like that think that the trios titles are a total waste of time.
I mean, in as much as... Well, I'll give this match as the example. So, if they wanted to do this story with Billy Gunn, the Acclaimed could win the tag titles again, but he doesn't factor in as being a champion then. So, this kind of works to kind of give someone... It's a European Championship level title. It's sort of there, someone can have a title, but Trios Championship, 6-man tags, history has never shown that they really work. I know Ring of Honor have had them for a while. Other places like did did WCW or NWA have six-man tags?
Briefly had 6-man tag titles.
Like so many years ago, and again it was like WCW right at the end had the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships. I think with the fact that they've got the Ring of Honor tag titles and the AEW tag titles, and then the Ring of Honor 6-man tag titles, and there's a lot of belts floating around. I feel like this works for the fact that there are quite a lot of trios in AEW.
Yeah, I don't mind them, but
yeah, but I don't know. What do you think, TJ?
I think it's the same problem that they have with the women's division. The trios division can work if they work some story into it. Like the House of Black had the house rules where they would defend it, with those specific rules and stuff. You could have done something more out of that. You could have made this like a weekly thing, or like you could actually build trios, like 6 men feuds and stuff. But it just seems that's one big problem with AEW. It seems very random, and for me, like I would see myself as somewhat of a hardcore smart. So for me, two big factions or two big, like for example, if Bullet Club Gold challenges for the trios title, I would mark out as a fan, but I can understand why a lot of people would just not care. Like I can understand again why I would probably prefer Omega versus Osprey, but like, as you mentioned, Jericho versus Osprey does more good to Osprey than probably an Omega match. So yeah, I think they need to put a bit more. Like I know they really take pride in being this pro wrestling company, but I think they need to put a bit more on the build towards feuds, titles, everything, and they're quite capable of doing that. I really like the Hangman Page story and the current stuff that they're doing with MJF and Adam Cole.
Yeah,
They are capable of telling long-term stories, but they just seem to only do it for like specific feuds and not for 70% of AEW.
well, that's the interesting thing with AEW versus WWE. So many of the criticisms that people have got about WWE kind of end up happening in AEW as they happened in TNA before, as they happen basically everywhere, where you probably need a lot more people involved in booking, and then how do you manage that team to make sure everyone has a character, everyone's seen regularly? AEW have got a ginormous roster. Not that WWE don't, but they've got an exceptionally large roster. So, and they've obviously added Collision, so they're fleshing out to give more people TV time. But it's been the case that you go weeks without seeing some people, or months, or years. Like I remember that for a long time on Twitter, there'd be like, it's been 600 days since Miro appeared on TV, or Sunny Kiss 700 days and stuff like this. So there's these huge rosters, and only really the top main events get the long-term storytelling.
But you know what's the weird thing about Collision? Like I always they want to give a show to CM Punk. They also, Tony Khan also bought Ring of Honor. He has the ROH titles. CM Punk, who made his career before in ROH before coming to WWE, instead of having two different shows, you could have just had AEW Honor and just have the ROH title over there. CM Punk right now is carrying a title which sort of shouldn't exactly be his. It's his because he claims it to be. Instead, he could have just carried the ROH World title, which Claudio's carrying, and he's doing absolutely nothing with.
But the point is that he's still the AEW champion in his mind. Title. So so I don't think crossing Ring of Honor, bringing that back over again is to make a lot of sense, really. And I know they've done that with Adam Cole and MJF because they're now the Ring of Honor tag champions, but I don't think that's going to last particularly long because they've got to keep them separate.
The thing with Punk's belt is to me, it's like, I feel like Punk said, this is the storyline we're going to do, But unless they have MJF addressing it and it actually leading anywhere, it's kind of nonsense. But and this is where they need to have the left hand talking to the right hand, saying, look, we're building this. MJF needs to address it, even if he brushes it off, and then Punk can be getting more irate about it. But they had the perfect opportunity here, because obviously Punk returned with the red bag, then it disappeared for a month. Then he suddenly said, oh yeah, now I'm going to carry and defend this championship. And it's like, well, why didn't you do that a month ago? But, and obviously, look, then he was feuding with Ricky Starks, who isn't even on this show. Collision really feels like it's, we'll give CM Punk his pet project, but the rest of the AEW universe isn't going to kind of acknowledge it. But what they could have done, and we need to like kind of wrap up soon, so we'll get on to the main event. But we can have 5 more minutes. We'll get to that. We'll have these 5 more minutes.
Oh, well that's not long enough, David.
However long it takes. I'm going to get into trouble.
Long enough, David. We're going to carry on until we have a decisive decision, damn it.
Yeah, okay, but... yeah, so you think Punk was WWE champion. Then he's out of there. Mysterio wins it, then Cena wins it, and then Punk comes back. And the thing that was a shame about that is it was like clearly a lot more rushed than what it should have been. But they just like, oh no, Punk is, he's re-signed, he's still here, we're just doing it immediately. It should have been that feel that, okay, we've got 2 champions and we need to keep building that. And maybe in their heads that All In was going to be Punk and MJF over who's the real world champion. But maybe trying to bring Punk back and him saying like, well, if you don't bring back Ace Steel and I've got an issue with this, maybe they were like, we can't risk putting CM Punk on the announcement. And so then they were like, oh, but Adam Cole, baby, and MJF kind of makes sense storyline-wise, which must have been something of a surprise to them. That took off much better than what they could have expected. So that became the match instead. But then this whole CM Punk thing, now they've got a week until Chicago where, again, surely they need to resolve it and get rid of that storyline because it isn't particularly working.
Also, what I think is maybe the original idea was for CM Punk to come out at the end of the show and, bring...
yes, I thought that.
But then Brawl In happened.
Okay, no, but... the one I thought that beforehand, but with what they did at the end with we'll get onto this match now, I guess. MJF and Adam Cole, they had enough that happened at the end where I almost felt like it was their version of Wembley Stadium, Bulldog and Brett, where it's like we're not going to be friends, and now we're going to hug, and now we're going to be a team. They wanted that iconic imagery, I think, and I think it was there. So I don't think there was space that suddenly Punk would have come out like MJF did at the end of All Out last year.
Yeah.
But it crossed my mind.
They could do it at All Out.
Yeah.
MJF. But
are you trying to say though, David, that Roderick Strong was playing the part of Day and a Half?
Yes, I am. Literally, that's what crossed my mind the other day.
Except he was wearing a neck brace and ran off.
Yeah. I was just like, I was literally on at the show, thinking he is in Diana's role. But yeah. Okay, but what did you think of the match, guys? MJF, Adam Cole. 29 minutes they were given.
It was good. And then they did the double clothesline thing. As soon as they hit the double clothesline, I was like, well, that'd be quite funny if they got pinned. And then they did.
Yeah, that blew my mind because I didn't actually see the pin happen.
I was like, what?
When the bell rang, I was like, what happened?
I messaged Checker saying right away, saying, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
Then they went 5 more minutes. I was like, "Okay, they are fucking kidding me."
Yeah.
And then they went to slightly comedic stuff.
They did.
Like, is this main event?
Yeah, I agree.
Comedy stuff here, and I guess it works within their sort of story. I'm just glad they weren't doing what I was dreading, which was to be like Adam Cole, HBK tribute, look at your hands, what am I doing to my friends, sort of like drama, which they managed to sort of avoid. So I was quite glad with that.
Oh, do you know what? As one thing that just to backpedal a little bit, I felt that happened a little bit, like the whole Undertaker. No, hang on. I felt it happened in a different match. Is what I was going to say. The whole every year at WrestleMania after Ric Flair retirement, I'm sorry, I love you, blah blah blah. Right. Then all of a sudden, Triple H, just stay down every single year. We were getting like, stay down, I don't want to do this, every year. I felt in the Young Bucks FTR match, there was a point where Cash was down, Dax stood there, sort of like, I've just got to turn around and take this, and went boom into, I think it was a super kick. And I thought that was it, where he was like, I know we're defeated. And he turned around and I was like, that's it. And when he kicked out, that shocks me. Because I felt that was one of those specific moments. But yeah, coming back to...
Even just one thing, even Jericho had that thing where he was taking the hidden blade, right? He was like, give it to me, hit me with the hidden blade. Then Austin hits him with the hidden blade.
Everyone wants their big match emotional moment.
Yeah. But with MJF versus Adam Cole, I'm not a big fan of comedy spots in main events, but I think considering the build to this, it worked. These guys got a literal double clothesline so over, and the kangaroo kick, by the way, which I actually found out recently, is actually a tribute to a wrestler called the Hebrew Hercules, who's called, I think, Abe Coleman. He's a Jewish wrestler who invented the drop kick after he went to Australia and he watched kangaroos fight, which was kind of a callback to MJF's kangaroo kick.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gone, but so the comedic moment which I could get on board with was the Eddie Guerrero spot, where it's like, you have this. And when he went like that and Cole fell down, and everybody else like.
But that's kind of their thing. If you look at the Adam Cole character and the MJF character, they're both sort of baby faces, but they're not. That's their thing. They will do anything they
MJF
can do
was
win.
much more. See, this is the weird thing with MJF in this match. He, like Adam Cole, was a lot more ruthless than MJF. MJF seemed a bit like, oh, I can't do this. I'm guilt ridden, like I'm changed and that. And I felt he pushed it a tiny bit too far.
But that's kind of the thing about the whole story. MJF, this very bad person, all he needed was a good friend at the end. You remember that bit during the build where they were playing video games and MJF is like, I didn't know video games could be this much fun. I never knew I could play with someone. And Adam Cole's like, do you not know about multiplayer games? And MJF is like, you need friends for that. They were building up to this. Adam Cole, for him, this is very normal. For MJF, you look at it from a more, cinematic view, it's his first friend. Which is why at the end, when Adam Cole got pissed, he threw the title off, MJF is like, you know what? You won this title, take it.
But what didn't we already kind of have this with MJF and Cody? And when Cody was like, oh, but he's like, literally, he was like, oh, but he's my heel, and they were like, he's my scumbag. I'm like, this is retreading a little bit of that ground. And obviously, like MLW, who was the faction that MJF was in? Like, he was with a couple of guys in MLW.
I don't know what you mean. I don't remember the name of the group, but
yeah, but like, and so obviously they don't have to acknowledge that. But it's like, it's not his first friend. Yeah, and Wardlow wasn't his friend, but
they have established, I think, in TJ's defense, they have established that MJF, like a lot of those times with those, because he was in the Pinnacle as well, wasn't he? He formed the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
But those were...
he established very early on he was paying them.
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
It was said that we're not your friend.
Even with Cody, it was just someone that he was working with to, jump up the ranks. It's not... Adam Cole is someone that he considers his friend. It's not someone... It's not... Which is why...
Oh no, we'll never know.
The MJF character who refuses to work once a night, wrestled twice on the same night. MJF would usually say no to the 5 more minute spot, said, we're doing this till we get a winner. So, and at the end he throws away the title. Which is why I think when these guys do split, it's going to be Adam Cole that's going to turn. Which kind of works a lot. Like, it adds more dimensions to the MJF character. Who's like, yeah, you know what?
I saw a lot of people buying and wearing the Better Than You Baby t-shirts, and they might just be like, if we you know, this hasn't been going that long. They've got the tag team championship with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, but the other company did put out Y2AJ t-shirts, and that lasted about a week.
Well, true. Yeah.
I mean, I think breaking them up anytime soon would be foolish. In fact, I'm going to make a prediction right now, since they're doing the whole bidding war of 24. Adam Cole is going to be the person that convinces MJF to stay. It would be like MJF has to decide between, you know, two money contracts. He can go to WWE, he gets money, he gets a big contract, and here in AEW he gets maybe a similar amount of money, but his friend Adam Cole, he takes the contract, he stays with AEW, and after he signs the contract, if it might be at that very moment, it might be somewhere down the line, Adam Cole turns on him.
Yeah. Right, guys, let's begin to wrap things up, unless anyone's got anything else on that match or that finish. Okay, so what?
Fine.
Go ahead, Dave.
I said the finish was fine. I like the fact that Roderick, even though he has wrestled like since, is still wearing that fucking neck brace.
It's so funny. It's incredibly funny.
He's not wrestled on AEW TV, so that's fine. But I was wondering whether or not this whole thing about them going under a future thing, because they've got this thing with Roderick and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are sort of involved as well, sort of playing away in the background, sort of like trying to pull strings and things like that. I did wonder whether or not the whole thing's set up for Cole to reunite with all three of them, so there's another new faction together. Yeah, no, as far as the match goes, it was entertaining. I didn't realise it had gone as long as 29 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was keeping my eye on the clock a lot of the time, because I was worried about getting out of Wembley Stadium. Which
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people had problems with. So I managed to leave after like the hug and the initial pyro went off after that bit. I was like, okay, done, let's go.
Yeah.
Didn't stick around for Tony's announcement or anything. But...
Oh my god, they spoiled the announcement. It came up on the Tron above the ring, where people are like, next year and stuff like this. And then it's so weird. This is where they need to work out the fine details, because Adam Cole was like, we're coming back next year, and then Tony Khan had got nothing extra to say except for, we're coming back next year, and in his weird screechy dolphin voice, you know. But it was cool that Tony Khan actually came out in front of the people. Like also before the show, when they were like, oh, and in October you can see the Jacksonville Jaguars here. The place booed them out the arena, and I was like, why are you against the Jags? How many NFL fans are here?
It's not wrestling.
Yeah, but it came up Fulham, and they were like, boo. It's like, well, everyone's going to have a different team. And then it was like the Jags, and they were boo. I was like, why aren't you on the side of this guy? He's literally just created this wrestling event here. But yeah, no, I thought overall it was a great show. I saw Clash at the Castle last year, and I flip-flopped between which I enjoyed more, which was a better show, and there's like loads of factors in it. Okay, let me pose this perhaps as a near final thought or question for you guys. They've announced that they're returning to Wembley Stadium, so they're going to have another stadium show, 80,000 people. Now AEW could explore like how WWE go to, well, they're not going to go to Saudi Arabia, but like how they did like a super show in Australia and stuff like this. AEW, they could use the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, and I don't know how much that sits in Jacksonville, to have other big shows like this. But they're kind of saying that in the UK or in Europe or whatever, their home turf is Wembley Stadium, which is a heck of a statement. Is there anything WWE can do to combat it? Because obviously WWE came back for a stadium show last year with Clash, then they played the O2 Arena with 20,000. What's WWE's move here next, or do WWE now shy away from the UK?
Of course they're not going to shy away.
They'll come over like they do every year, but WWE but I mean, like, are they going to play? Are they going to go back to the Principality Stadium, or they're like, well, we're not going to do another pay-per-view?
Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get a stadium that fits more than 1,035 people, and try and get there to get their attendance record back.
I agree that.
Well, they'll do that. And I'm sure they're already that's already in the works.
But
there's some like 100,000 seater stadium that they're trying to.
But there won't be in the UK.
I mean, right after All In was announced, John Cena came out at, I think, Money in the Bank and said, "We want WrestleMania in the UK." That cannot be a coincidence. That
Yeah,
cannot
exactly. So, but like, where can the only move I can imagine WWE to try to take control of this situation is August 24th or 25th next year when All In London returns to Wembley Stadium. If the WWE do Clash at the Castle 2 or SummerSlam or whatever at the Principality or whatever the next biggest stadium they can get is, to mean that like they split the audience. That's the only thing I can think
be
WWE could do.
on the same night.
The same
You know,
night, do it. Imagine how exciting that would be. Make people choose. So you've got this lineup here. You know, you've still got Sting coming out. You've got Punk if they haven't fired him, and that. And then you've got Roman and John Cena. Go ahead, Dave.
I live in Essex. I'll choose London next.
Yeah. Well, that is the thing. That is the thing. So they've got London, right? But can WWE, if they say John Cena, Stone Cold is going to wrestle John Cena? You know, what can they do to try to, you know, John Cena can come out and say WrestleMania in the UK, but what can they actually do now that all that AEW is going to be probably a yearly thing as much as they can make it at Wembley?
If AEW make it as affordable as they made this show, then they're going to get my vote each time.
Wow.
If WWE, for my tickets were £30 for each, where I was row 8 of like the upper section, and I had a better than I expected view, and I got the take in the entire stadium, and got the roar of the crowds around us for that sort of thing. That atmosphere absolutely was worth the money, if not more. But yeah, that price, that if it was WWE doing that show, that would have been at least £70, I would have thought.
Yeah.
For that.
Well, Clash was really expensive. They would have sold out Clash if it wasn't so expensive. Right, well, anyway, on that note, let me just refresh a couple of news sites to see if there's any breaking news. We always have the, like, it's almost unfortunate there's always some big, huge breaking news as soon as we've wrapped the show.
We haven't even mentioned Bray Wyatt.
Well, this is what I was about to come on to as, like, perhaps a final thought.
Sorry, I'm preempting you every
No, this is brilliant. This is brilliant, Dave. We're in tune. This is good. But yeah, so last week we had the show, and obviously there was news Terry Funk had passed away, like, a day earlier. But then a couple of hours after the show, it came to light that Bray Wyatt had passed away. Hopefully there won't be any... So obviously what really means that we didn't get to cover it on the show last week. What's your guys' thoughts or anything you want to give on the passing of Bray Wyatt?
It's even more tragic than hearing the news today about the sort of like the update about him having been given this defibrillator thing or something like that, and it had been found in his car.
Yeah.
Like that. So like, it's terrible. Obviously, what can I say about it? It's a very sad situation.
Yeah.
You know, even sad it was sort of like, you know, when he did his comeback last year and all the stuff he was talking about with his mental health issues and such like, and you know, that's I think that was one of the sort of worries at first that the reason he passed, but yeah, no, it's just a terrible situation, and I think they've done the right thing by sort of like putting the merch out and making sure all the profits are going to go to his family, and it's nice that apparently AEW are going to excuse a lot of people from Dynamite this week so they can go to his service and such like. So that's going to be it's going to be good for them, and yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult to say because we didn't know him, so it's difficult to say, but it's just the outpouring of unbelievably positive things about the guy. No one seems to have a bad word to say about him, and if they did, obviously they're keeping him quiet. So, but I know a lot of people I know that are fans weren't necessarily big fans of him and don't like the supernatural sort of stuff.
Yeah, see, like that doesn't matter in a situation like this.
Yeah, but as far as creativity goes, he was one of the more creative people out there, and just seemed to have this idea of this character that was like incredible. I mean, I remember the first time Bray Wyatt popped up on screen, it was FCW. It was just part of like the YouTube sort of series they've been putting out, and all clips that would go out of it, and just seeing him going from Husky Harris to this new character, and I was like, okay, this is intriguing. And sort of initial stages of it being clearly based on De Niro in Cape Fear and that sort of like that, that sort of style of a character, and then just the way he sort of has piece together like bits of promos and things like that, apparently, like then linked together to make another promo, another clue to something else, and all those other bits, and all the various memes and things like that were giving clues to things when he was coming back, and when all the screens would change for a moment and then give you links to Twitch accounts or clips from YouTube, things like that would give you clues that it was
his return like a year ago with the whole QR code and stuff like this. That was one of the highlight things of last year. Like the build. Oh, Bray Wyatt is returning that, and like for me, like, you know, no one has got anything bad to say about the guy as the person, stuff like this, and like obviously, you know, people watch back any of the Slam Jam shows. I'll always joke that I didn't like the Firefly Funhouse match, but I can truthfully say it was entertaining as hell. I was always like, but they didn't wrestle, and I you know, that was always the joke that I would go on.
I remember you and Sam talking about it on the show.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, but there was no wrestling and stuff like this. But you know, the creativity of the guy is the thing that I could always appreciate. And well, just the character from an era, you think of like the 2010s, where there's so many characters that came through that weren't really characters. To literally be the character that I don't know if we'll ever know the story, and I suspect we won't now, of the Undertaker passing the torch. What did he whisper to Wyatt and stuff like this? You know, that's with the Undertaker to reveal or not reveal what he said to Bray then. But he, you know, the Spider Walk, the Fiend, you know, the Firefly Funhouse, the amount of character he had, and that so much of it was him putting the effort in, is something I can eternally appreciate, and it's dreadfully sad. I watched SmackDown Live where you know, I liked that they brought in Rowan. I like that they'd got Braun, who I think is out at the moment, you know, back for this, and I hope they continue to like pay respect, and whatever they may do, you know, obviously Bo Dallas, if they'll continue anything with him, I'd like to think that we're not just going to suddenly hear in 6 months' time Bo Dallas has been released and that they never give him a chance to do something beyond whatever the Uncle Howdy storyline was meant to be. There may be a way to continue that legacy directly there. They might be able to continue it with Rowan coming back, with Braun. Obviously, and there's a lot they can play into, obviously, because of the real life loss of Bray and Brody. So, you know, it's unfortunately the Wyatt family has become one of these somewhat tragic factions where you can look at like the Hart Foundation, or look at people where like too many of them have like passed away too young and stuff like that. But TJ, any particular thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of the most creative minds. I think I've also mentioned it several times. I really enjoyed the Firefly Funhouse match.
I know.
Yeah,
we've had that spirited talk on here before.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, it's incredibly sad that someone passes away at this young age. And
yeah.
I mean, I think they should totally do something with Rowan, Braun, and with Bo. They could maybe form a faction with the three of them or something. I don't know. If once Alexa returns, I know she really likes the whole supernatural stuff because she has mentioned it several times. She grew up a fan of horror movies. So they could do something and just maybe the vision, maybe the kind of stuff that Bray wanted to do. I'm sure.
Well, yeah, the payoff, the whole Wyndham 6 or Wyatt 6 or stuff.
5, 6,
we you know, it's there must have been a lot of plans that, you know, it's a case of, can they do something to add like a heroic happy ending to that story, which is difficult because he wasn't a heel when he came back. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
It's like the Bray Wyatt character was, for the most part, a heel, except for people got into it, and especially when he became the Fiend, people loved it. And, you know, they were literally turning on Seth and stuff, who was the babyface, in favour of the Fiend.
However, if I do add something to this, was the Bray Wyatt character ever completely like the heel. I always felt he was like one of those gray characters like you see in movies that you know they're kind of the characters that kind of make sense if you look at you go back and look at some of his promos. Uh, a lot of the stuff that he complained about were kind of like stuff that you know a lot of us fans complained about. He just made it sound way more cryptic and way more like he would talk about the old gods and new gods and in a way, and then you would see him being face to face with Triple H. And remember that scene where Triple H had that WWE title, and he would just they would really tease a Triple H versus Bray Wyatt match.
Mm.
Kind of like he kind of had this very cryptic anti-authority layer to him.
He did. Like I think I commented before that he was like one of the best at delivering a promo, but I'm not sure how much I understood of a lot of them. It was like and maybe that, and that was like because he was meant to be. It was always he's something of a cult leader and stuff like this, and it was one of these things. He's got a way with words, and you're not quite sure what you're getting behind and stuff like this. But
if I can quote, an Eddie Izzard routine where he talks about President Kennedy, and like the power of getting people behind, of being able to win people over. He says it's like 30% what you actually say, 70% how you say it, and how you present it. And that's pretty much what Bray Wyatt was doing a lot of the time. It was this whole demeanour, whole way of being about it. My favourite one of his speeches, I think, was when Wyatt had just debuted on Raw or whatever time it was. They just debuted main roster.
Yeah.
They went back to NXT as a surprise for the Full Sail crowd, and the Full Sail crowd were going crazy. They weren't expecting them to come to be back, so they did like one-off little match. And it was all them to say goodbye to the NXT crowd, and Ray does this whole thing about don't worry, all you need to do if I'm gone, and all you have to do is follow the buzzards and all that stuff, and then sings "Time Is on My Side" at the end, which is a nice little wrinkle because it's sort of like a reference to a film. I forget what it's called now, but it's a film that's got Denzel Washington in it, where the ghost of like someone is a prisoner of his is like possessing people around him and all that sort of stuff. And "Time Is on My Side" is like a song that's used like in that, and I'm pretty sure that's what the reference was. But yeah, no, it's just that bit of that control of the crowd, and like you say, was he a bad guy or was he a heel and all that sort of stuff. It's always that thing with the best characters are always the ones that 100% believe in what their what they want to do is the way that the world should be, and that's the best bad guy sort of situation, and can be the best good guy as well.
Exactly. It's kind of like if you look at, say, Daniel Bryan as the Planet's champion. What he was saying, he was presenting it in a very obnoxious way, but what he was saying, he was not exactly saying something that's wrong. Or if you look at like as Dave mentioned, like the best bad guys are the ones that make sense. If you look at, say, for example, Anakin Skywalker before he became Darth Vader, his motivation to become Darth Vader was to protect Padme and his unborn kids. That can be seen as heroic in a lot of other stories. It's how it's presented. I don't know if you guys are aware of this show. It's a show that doesn't take itself very seriously.
For AEW, they got.
No, it's called Supernatural. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
I know the show. I never really got into it. I never really watched it.
Yeah, I'm just not getting much into it. But there's a character who would sacrifice a lot for his family, and he would do a lot of stuff that on other shows and movies you can see as okay, this guy is literally putting the entire universe in jeopardy for that one or two people that he loves. And that was kind of the same with Anakin. So it's like it's how you're presenting these characters. With Bray, if you look at initially his first big feud, that was with it was with the Shield, but then after that his proper first big massive feud, which was with John Cena, where he was kind of saying what the fans were saying. Like he wanted Cena to give in, he wanted Cena to turn heel. And if you look at all the feuds that Bray has so far, even with The Undertaker, he was saying it's time for you to go, it's time for me to take. It's something that at that time the fans, specifically at that time, the fans really wanted some new blood. They did not want people from the previous era. Bray was kind of, saying what you were saying, just in a cryptic way.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, it's a terrible loss, and it also, I think this was the first time watching SmackDown that they had like a tribute show of that nature where they'd got like two graphics on the screen. Now, my honest belief is that obviously we haven't really touched on Terry Funk, and I'm afraid we are going to have to wrap up in just a moment. I'm kind of in trouble now. Like it's fine,
Yeah,
but like
sorry,
no, it's fine. Like it is what it is, right? But I don't like how AEW put up a graphic about Terry Funk, and Punk mentions about Terry Funk and stuff like that. I imagine that we may have had Cody Rhodes come out and, well, he wouldn't have been on SmackDown actually, but he would have done some promo at some point about Terry Funk this or whatever, and we wouldn't have got as much of a Terry Funk tribute because obviously he was a lot older. He wasn't active in the company in the same way that Bray was. Like there might be someone I'm forgetting, but Owen Hart, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, although that was a different one. I think they are the only tribute shows that they've done, and this is the fourth, unless there's one that I've forgotten, where like
it kind of,
Oh no, but you know what I mean. It's like they played several vignettes. They had the guys stand out on the ramp. I think they stood out on the ramp for Ultimate Warrior because he'd literally been on Raw the week before. Sorry, anyone else?
Yeah.
They didn't. They didn't do a tribute show, but okay, they did kind of do a tribute show for Vince McMahon after his.
Well, yeah, but so they didn't have the people sat and they like obviously since the Benoit situation, I don't think they've had people just sit and speak to the camera. But they had like there was a few with armbands on, and there was a few segments that like reference things like LA Knight gave his promo, which I thought he did a really good job of, to sort of like speak about, well, I appreciated this, he was like a man that, he had his family, and I learned things from like our feud and stuff like this, and as a great man once said, run, and stuff like this, because obviously he was his last opponent. And also when you look at the lineup on stage, it had Triple H as obviously the representation of WWE, Cody as like the top sort of face professional guy, and also obviously he was leading the way with the Terry Funk tributes. Then we had Braun and Rowan, and then you'll see that we had LA Knight, who was his last opponent, and the other side was Bobby Lashley, who would have been his next opponent. Yeah, absolutely. So they put a lot of like thought into things to sort of pay respects. And if you've seen stuff from Raw with Seth and Becky kind of paying tribute somewhat to him as well this week, I think they did it like a good job to like pay tribute. They obviously paid tribute a lot more to Bray than they did to Terry Funk, but I felt like they were respectful in what they did for Terry Funk. And then if you saw the match, they said it was going to be a hardcore match, and it really wasn't a hardcore match.
Yeah.
But still.
But yeah, it's okay, I suppose. Like, I mean, WWE, I think it's the thought like that kind of matters in this situation.
Yeah. Right, guys. Let's wrap things up here. So if you've got places where you want to tell people to find you and stuff like that on social media, TJ, where can the people find you?
You can find me in my mom's basement, but if you want to check out my artwork, I'm actually thinking of, I'm a bit busy, but I want to put up a Bray Wyatt artwork. Also, artwork from All In. So you can find me on All Elite TJ Ripper on Instagram. I just use it to upload artwork, so do sketches and stuff. Something I do for fun. So if anyone wants to check that out, would really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, where can the people find you?
For wrestling stuff, it's just at Twitter at Degrino, and I'm putting out feelers for people to come and join me for Wembley Stadium next year for that, because it's more than likely going to be my stag weekend.
Wait.
I will join you for that. I will for sure be at Wembley.
At Degrino on Twitter, and David Anthony Green for acting and related stuff everywhere else.
Awesome stuff. My name is David Pistansky. You find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David Pistansky. Obviously, this is Slam Jam Wrestling Show, which you can see either on the Extreme Improv YouTube channel or on youtube.com/at Slam Jam Wrestling Show. Tonight we have been simulcasting like the last Nitro, where we're on both the YouTube channels. So whichever one you're watching on, head over to the other one and smash that subscribe button. I don't know if we'll I'll try to make it so we've got shows like every week. There's been, before last week there'd been a little gap of a few weeks, but I'll try to make sure that there's more stuff happening regularly on this channel. And of course, check out all of the Slam Jam articles and stuff on Extreme. Oh, I thought there was the logo up there. On Extreme.tv, I usually do because I'm on the other platform. And of course on TikTok and everywhere else where you can find Slam Jam Wrestling Show. So from me, until next time, from Dave and TJ, stay safe, always stay extreme. And until next time, and I'm going to use this term because I forgot it because I coined it the other day, we will see you later, you Slam Jam bronies. Ciao for now. I don't know, it's kind of